Kiri finished its run on Wednesday night. I think, Gary, you actually sort of predicted this, I think, didn't you? The Stephen McIntosh's guilt.
I don't think I was absolutely 100% convinced, but I think I put it forward as a theory. Yeah,
I thought it was one of the family members, and it was an accident. And it apparently started off as an accident. That Kiri had come back to the house, wanted to go away with Nathaniel, the father.
Yeah,
he tried to talk her out of it. Took her back to the downs or whatever. She tripped over a rock and hit her head, and then did he then finish her off? Was that the general thing?
I think in order to keep it quiet, I think he did.
Yeah. The big thing was that the police instead arrested Nathaniel because of Alice Leah Williams's confession that she'd seen this car the week before, leading to a weird scene where the officer played by Wunmi Masako was trying to convince Toby, the dad, to
that had a feeling of unreality to it. As I said, there were a couple of scenes throughout the whole series which felt like a bit added on.
And then the final sort of strand was Miriam's, losing her job, wanted to resign. They tried to sack her. She's then taking her mum back to her house because she can't afford the care home.
I love that scene so much.
That made me laugh out loud. Don't ruin this now by saying something racist.
Nurses say you've been behaving a bit.
Liars.
2 things you need to know. 1, I was bloody good at my job once upon a time. And 2, I'm broke. I can't afford to keep you here.
Well, just put me in a sack and throw me off the cliff.
You're coming in with me. End of the month.
Do you want that?
Well, I get a carer's allowance then. Pittance that it is. And your allowances. And without the fees from this place, we'll get by. Won't be comfortable, but we'll get by. That okay with you?
So you just want me for the carer's allowance?
Yes.
Yes, it's okay with me. Of course it's okay with me.
Is it?
I'd like it.
You'd like it?
Very much so.
Please don't ruin this moment by saying something racist.
But yeah, she sort of the Miriam storyline was she got her dog back. Jesse's going to live longer than she thought he would, and it was just like, what do we do next? Where do I go now? Sort of thing. And that was of the 3 felt the most realistic. I think the plotting elsewhere, it seemed very hurried to me. They had like 40 odd minutes to wrap up all these 3 stories, and at the end it was like, oh, life's sort of going on. There's that hint that Miriam's got this information that she knew that Alice had followed her, so she knows what the car looked like, and that could then put the whole investigation open. There are these sort of things, you're thinking about things that are happening after the series, which I quite liked, but I think a lot of people took against. Luke, should we have your views on Kiri the entire series? Although you did write quite a substantial review on the website.
Yeah, I wasn't able to do as much coverage of it as I'd wanted. Damn Aussies with their flu. But I adored it. It's probably one of my favourite dramas of the last 5 years. Certainly one of my favourites that we've talked about. I thought it was really engrossing, and I cared about everyone, and I loved the structure and the fact that as good as Sarah Lancashire was, that I cared just as much about Leah Williams and Stephen McIntosh and Toby and Nathaniel and all the various strands and players in it. I just thought were wonderful. Jack Thorne has a really unique style in his writing. I thought the dialogue rang true. I thought everything about it was pretty perfect. But as I said in the piece I've written for the website, I do sit there during a final episode and I do tend to look at the clock, which is in our case at the side of the TV, and just think, how are they going to wrap this up in 47 minutes? Because they don't have long, and it does ruin my enjoyment of the final episode because I've been let down so much by loving things and then being tainted a bit by the final. I thought this had a lot of promise. I agree that it felt a bit rushed, but I think everything got tied up the way I wanted it to. I did speak to Jack Thorne on Twitter. We had a couple of messages going back and forth, because one thing my only complaint was, I would have quite liked to have seen
the flashback of.
I would have quite liked.
Yeah,
to have
I'm
seen
the
it.
same.
So
Seeing as we've got other flashbacks, I do agree with
you
that.
would. I think we thought, Gary, didn't we, that we assumed we would be getting the flashback, like, for example, we got in National Treasure. But I'm sorry to cut you off. You can finish that. I was just going to say, for me, I was partly, I didn't quite understand all of what Steve McIntosh was confessing to, and I think it would be a better sort of, the rule of thumb with drama is show us, don't tell us. So it would have been.
And we did get the thing is as well. I really liked Kiri, and whenever we saw her, she was a really fascinating, quirky little girl, and I found her interesting. I think it is harder to believe that Stephen McIntosh will go through all this and then be cornered, not greatly cornered either, but just be antagonised by his son and then come out with it all. And as an audience member, you're hanging on every word because you're trying to picture it in your mind rather than see it on TV. It's a tiny niggle, but I'd have rather have seen it personally.
See, I think to me, it explains one thing. It explains the very bizarre thing in episode 3 where he said, "I'll take the rap," where he was prepared to put himself forward instead of his son, which at the time, I remember both me and Matt in that conversation both going, don't quite get that, sits a bit uneasy. It kind of explains that idea. But then if he was so sort of, I'm going to confess and say it was me, why, when confronted with the truth, did he not feel any kind of actions to want to step forward? I mean, and we're left with complete ruin about completely what knows going on with their marriage, because although it's kind of suggested that the son was saying, you should blooming spend money on the divorce, mum. It always, and I agree. If you're going to leave things in a kind of bizarre way, they did think they did it the right way. I didn't think you were going to get a neat tied up. This is what happened. I did think it was going to end with the wrong person going to jail, because we kind of were led that way. But it did still sit a bit uneasy with me. I'm happy with it because I don't know that I really wanted a definitive happy or good ending. The show was about the journey, not about the story, or it turned into a bit of a whodunit, but it certainly didn't start like that.
Okay, so that's Kiri. I have pre-ordered the DVD, and I can't remember the last time I did that, actually. I'm selling more DVDs than I'm buying, but I know this one's going to be one that I will go back to because it's short and the performances are really compelling and I really enjoyed it. Kiri is on all 4 now if you want to catch up with it, if somehow you just missed the boat.